Now this build is dedicated to my father-in-law. This man is well into his 80s, got diagnosed with cancer, had to go through major surgery, a lot of hospital visits, but thankfully we still have him today. Now looking back over this entire ordeal, it would be very easy to depict the sadness involved, but my predominant feeling in regards to my father-in-law is nothing but strength. And it's that strength that I want to channel into this build. So I apologize if you were looking for maybe a more sensitive approach to a Quest to Conquer Cancer build. But that's not what you're getting here. Now, as it happened, DE posted a little brief with some tips as to what they want to see depicted in a build, and it played quite well into some of the ideas I had already. Now, in this room, I have identified a couple of core points on that little thematic list. I want to lean into the TTRPG quite heavily, and I'm going to do that by essentially constructing my environment on these little hex grids. I'm trying to evoke the old tabletop gaming hex format, where you'd have your game board split into hexagons, and that's how you explore. Now, the overarching nemesis in my little tabletop game is going to be this cancer dragon. Now, don't feel sorry for him. He hasn't got cancer. He's a personification of cancer. He's the one giving it to everybody. This is the guy that we're going to have to try and conquer.
He said it! He said it!
Now, obviously, this is a lot of detail and a lot of capacity. I'm probably not going to be able to pull this off in its entirety, but I thought I'd show you the little concept art because I thought it looked quite neat. I'm leaning even more into the tabletop gaming. I'm thinking about miniatures. Obviously, we have the Grineer statues. I would definitely be using those. And for a more custom build, I'm going to be looking at making tanks. Now, this concept here was me roughing out an old British Mark V, I think it's called. I invited one person to my dojo and they were like, that's Warhammer. Like, okay, so we're hitting the nail on the head. Very good. In terms of the color prompts, I haven't quite figured out all of those yet. I'm going to assume somewhere in the build I'm going to squeeze some glyphs, so that will do all three colors. But the choice of using a white decoration to make the hexes is in response to that color prompt. And then finally, the nature decorations bit, I'm thinking of decorating these hexes, instead of leaving them as they are, making little terrains on the inside of them, like they are constructed miniatures. And then that will also take off the nature decorations prompt. Now, with all that said, let's get into the build. As you can probably tell, I've got a cold right now, so I was trying to avoid voicing over the time-lapse and go with annotations instead. But my foggy brain right now couldn't handle trying to strike a balance between having text on the screen so long it looks like the video froze, or having text flash so quickly it sounded like my internal monologue turned into Eminem. So for now, we're just going to have to suck it up and deal with my bad recording. So the main focal point of the room is going to be this dragon. So I wanted to get that in place first so I could get the pose right and the scale right. Now, I went through a lot of iterations in the head shape, both on and off camera, and ended up settling on this cool serpentine look. I knew I'd have to cut some of the detail from the original one, but I think I got a decent balance here. Now for the wings, I was thinking like giant bat wings, kind of like the fell beasts from Lord of the Rings, only way more tumor ridden and kind of tattered and torn. I just like the head. The body went through a few changes. Originally I had a kind of pterodactyl body with these small legs at the bottom, but given how serpentine the head came out, I tried to lean into that more for the body. So I went and got rid of the legs and switched it out for this scaled belly kind of pattern. But the blend between the scales and that infested like pectoral region which supports the wings, it's kind of giving weird mermaid vibes, so I dipped off this idea as well. Eventually landed on this exposed tissue design. To me it looks like either the skin has been removed or the beast is just so full of infectious material that it's seeping out through the skin. On screen is a secondary test I did for the hex format of a game board. I worked out pretty quickly, however, this is going to be incredibly cap intensive and it's not going to work with this build. So instead what I'm going to do, I'm going to make small individual land masses but still have that hex pattern represented in those landmasses. Now this first island represents all of the community and family aspects of the dojo prompts. It's a collection of NPCs that can represent whatever you want them to. To me, it's my father-in-law and my family. But obviously it can carry larger meanings, like representing everybody at DE, as well as the community as a whole, and everybody at the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation in our ongoing quest to conquer cancer. Now the second island is where we're going to lean more into the strength prompt and the protector prompt in the form of our tank. Now, unfortunately, I made a lot of alterations to this tank unintentionally off camera. I didn't realize my laptop storage was full and it had stopped recording. You'll see the actual tank in a showcase at the end, but the one I'm building right now gets changed quite a lot. So the third island is to really drive home the tabletop RPG vibe. I said in the preamble that I wanted to include a lot of these Grineer soldiers because they look like little miniatures. So really here I'm just playing around building some wooden structures, playing around with some kind of miniature feeling environments to have these soldiers in and to pose them around. At this point in the build, I had a pretty important decision to make, and that's whether to give the dragon itself its own hex tile. Now, originally I thought of the dragon as a kind of player, so it wouldn't be part of the board itself, but the dragon to me looked way too disconnected from the main build, so I decided to give it its own hex pattern and bring it into the game board itself. I think this also really helps solidify it as the main focal point of the room. To really drive that home, I made its hex much bigger. I made it out of a different material. I added a lot more detail. Alright, so that's the room all finished. I'm going to head into a room showcase. If you are enjoying the video, please sub to the channel. Any comments or queries, slap me in a comment below. I still reply to every comment I get. And a like on the video would help a lot too. Peace out. Catch you in the next one.